All right, so bathroom remodeling can be really expensive, even if you're DIYing it. You know, if you're just doing it for your own personal home, it can be kind of overwhelming on what type of tools to choose and what really makes sense and what you absolutely need. So as a tile contractor, I've obviously collected many tools over the years, and I've tried many different systems. So I want to go over basically kind of like the basics, like the bare minimum that you would need. I also want to test out a pretty popular saw that I got that's really inexpensive. I think DIYers just don't want to spend a lot of money on tools, and I totally get it, because if you only have 2 bathrooms and maybe you're doing a backsplash, why would you want to spend thousands of dollars on tools? And at that point, it doesn't make any sense to do it yourself if you're going to pay that kind of money for tools. So I went with a couple cheaper options that I wanted to go over, see how they do, make sure that they're well, you know, something that is worth purchasing and being able to do. But then I wanted to go over some of the higher end tools that I've been using for years that you know, is really my kind of go-to, and it's really what made my business what it is. Having the right tools to be able to do tile work makes everything a lot easier. So let's go through them one by one. I do have a couple, like a lot of new tools here that I've been trying out and have been really really enjoyed so far. All right, let's just go through my main tile piece. If I were a contractor trying to get into the tile industry, I would buy a good snapper. So this is made by Montolit. I know it looks really terrible, but it has Thinset all over it. But I've probably put, you know, thousands of square feet of tile with this. So this is just a slider. It can do 29 inches, I believe. But really, what I'm mostly concerned about is just being able to do a 12 by 24, because this is a very popular size tile. But it's something that really is, you know, really well made. Once I've used one of these tile cutters, I never went back. So even like if I wanted to cut like a 1-inch piece of tile off, you can do that. So nice crisp cuts. It is a real game changer, you know, and it definitely speeds things up a lot, especially when you're doing, you know, a lot of these bigger tiles. Wet saws and things are great, but when you're trying to cut like a 24-inch long piece of tile, I mean, it just takes forever. So this is probably the first thing I would buy if I was going to do a lot of flooring, you know, just a lot of a bigger tile in general. I would definitely get a good snap cutter. The secondary thing that really has kind of pretty much made my business what it is a wet saw. This is probably one of the most popular ones that contractors use. You know, I've been using this one for well over 12 years. And if you get a good blade for it, it'll definitely allow you to basically cut everything that you need to do. It has a bevel on it, which makes it nice. So you can do a 45-degree cut. You know, plunge cutting, this is a really nice feature, especially when you're doing kind of like a U-shaped cut. You can just get that tile in there and do it. The slider works really well. Now again, this has been abused and used. I've probably done, you know, 5,000–6,000 square feet of tile with this, so not everything works exactly the way it should. But this is definitely like a contractor's type of saw. This is kind of basically universal. You can start out with this and be able to pretty much do just about any type of tile work. Now wet saws are absolutely a must if you're doing stone. So if you're doing marble, travertine, there really is no other way to cut it. You can use grinders and things, but to be efficient, you really need to be able to cut that. This can also cut glass, you know, when you get a good blade on it. So again, it basically covers like every type of tile that you could imagine. But if you have a good blade, and as long as you're not going above like 36 inches, this works really well. So this is definitely something that's kind of made my career as well as this Dewalt saw. Now coming up into the new generation of saws, we're gonna test this thing out. This is a fairly new product. I'm excited to use. Now this doesn't require any water, which I think is just phenomenal. I am really excited to see how this, I mean, it really is well made. I mean, the sliders are nice. Now this is obviously brand new and hasn't been in my hands for very long at all, so it still looks really great. But the fact that I don't have to have any water and any type of mess, I'm really excited. This also has, you can get a 45-degree table on this, and yeah, I mean, it's going to be pretty wild. I'm really excited to try this out. And it also kind of, it's about as heavy as that Dewalt. It's about 90 pounds, and I should be able to do 12 by 24s, no problem with this as well. Let me just see here. Ooh, I know that can come all the way off there like that.
Probably something you can lock it.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. Yeah, no problem. Yeah, you have no problem doing 12 by 24s in this. Now, this blade is brand new. I just put this together. So I want to use some other type of porcelain tiles to kind of break it in. That's one thing about any blade that you buy, you need to break it in. So you need to use, like, what I recommend for breaking in blades, especially if you're just buying a brand new saw, is just to get a couple pieces of cheap porcelain, hard porcelain tiles like this, and just run a bunch of cuts through it. Go like 6 or 7 times, get that blade worn in, and then cut the tile that you actually are trying to do in your own space. And one I've been using here lately, this is another new saw. This is the IQ tabletop. This so far I've been really happy with because it's so convenient. It's, again, it doesn't require any water. It's just a dry saw. So this little handy thing, I'm able to put in the bathroom, in the space that I'm using, and be able to just do additional cuts. I just did a shower that had 3 by 12s, ceramic tiles, and it was very, very convenient. I love the way the guard worked. You're able to just adjust this to the size that you need and make multiple cuts of the same size. You know, this basically comes out into 1-inch increments. So it was really nice and easy to adjust things to, you know, kind of common sizes that you're kind of repeating. So this is something that I think is a luxury item because you're not gonna be able to cut glass on this. There's a lot of things, you know, this is small. So, I mean, doing 12 by 24s would be pretty cumbersome. I actually don't even think you can do 12 by 20, no. Yeah, so this is just not gonna work for that. I mean, you could take this guard off here, I guess, technically, and then push this through. You could definitely do that. But this is not something that I would say, like, you know, you would want to have to be your only saw. This is kind of like an accessory. This is kind of like my other grinder with a dust extractor. You just have this sitting in the room so you can just do some touch-up spots and keep yourself from having to run up and down those steps. Another tool that is very helpful if you're mixing a lot of thinset is an actual mixer. This is a Collomixer. This thing makes a real big difference with the power and the ability to mix thinset efficiently. Then just a couple of grinders that I always have on hand. So cordless grinders. This one has kind of a rough diamond face on it. So this is for grinding and touching up things. I also use a grinder with a shop vac extractor. So this guy basically has a little dust shield on it. You can just connect it right to your shop vac. And then when you have the plug adapter, if you have the dust extractor, just turn this to the plug. And then when you want to use it, it turns on the shop vac. So knee pads, absolutely important for flooring. These are Proknees. These things have saved and extended my ability to continue to work. Having a good set of knee pads. What's really great about these are kind of like hockey goalie pads, and they don't basically cut the circulation off your legs because you're basically connecting this to your calf, and there isn't any strap that goes around the knee. So these things are great, and definitely if you're a tile contractor, it's going to extend the time that you can actually continue to do this stuff. A couple other tools that I always have on hand is leveling clips. So when you're doing 12 by 24s, this basically just creates to eliminate the lippage in between. You see this in many different variations, but I like using the Perfect Level Master. These clips are like super, super strong. And then I always have a couple additional blades. This is a Montolit Squadra blade for really tight spaces, kind of like for like outlets, You know, if anything that requires a small radius to be able to cut, this is really helpful. It's only you know, 3 3/8 inch. Very thin too, so it really does a great job. And then towel spacers, and then I have a whole bucket of slew of other tools, grouting tools. This is a pretty handy tool made by Calidad Talbro Square. You basically put your metal edging in here to be able to cut your 45. Really inventive idea here. And then basically just hand scrubbers, pads to be able to sand down the edges of the towel, make them nice. And then one of my favorite tools is a linoleum knife. This helps you scrape out the joints and be able to maneuver things. And then you always have to have a bunch of different hole saws and different things like that. But you know, it all depends on what, yeah, there's water in there. It all depends on what you're doing. For a standard tub surround, like what we're gonna be doing in this bathroom, I mean, honestly, all you need is a grinder blade. And yeah, I mean, a hole saw, you can get a cheaper one from Home Depot or Lowe's that aren't really expensive. I probably have one somewhere in here, just like a Milwaukee, like a $15 one. You don't need to be spending 50, 60 bucks for one that connects to your grinder. But yeah, we're gonna go over install 12 by 24s in a simple fashion, somewhat simple. There's a window in it, so that actually kind of complicates things. But we're going to show you how to go about doing this, and then what the minimal amount of tools that it requires to be able to do this. So if you're doing this for your own home, you're not spending an arm and a leg to do all of this. Alrighty then. Very nice. No chips. I mean, really nothing. I'm totally happy with that. I'd still get one of these just to take any of that sharp edge off of there, but I'm very pleased. I mean, even the other opposite end cut is nice. So there's no doubt having a professional saw makes a world of difference. And as you see at the end there, so that you can avoid chipping these little corners like the other tabletop, it's really, you have to be very, very slow and allow the blade to cut. This, you're able to plunge cut and be able to avoid that from happening. So there's no question, there's a reason that these tools are a lot more expensive, but you know, honestly not necessary. It just takes a little bit more time on the other saws. Not very pretty. Lots of chips. Now, I could be still needing to work in that blade, but I honestly wasn't very convinced that that was going to work on this type of towel anyway. This is one of the toughest type of towels to really cut. So let's put this on the our snap cutter, because this is where I would definitely have a snap cutter when you buy cheap towel like this. Yeah, that's going to be the only way to do it. I mean, that's perfect. So snap cutter really helps out with that. Dry saw is not going to really do it on that. Let's go ahead and try my towel that we're going to be doing in this bathroom. See what this looks like. Now this edge here is the one that we just put through that cheap Harbor Freight saw. Turned out perfectly fine. So let's go ahead and see what this looks like here. Not bad. No, it's totally acceptable. It's ceramic, you know, and again, these polish pads are really gonna take any of those minor. No, I'm happy with that. I mean, it really honestly is, you know, it's hard to see on film. You never be able to see, especially being white. But we could put a Schluter edge on the side of that and work totally fine. So ceramic, high gloss white, not a problem.